roll call, Terry, please.
Burns,
Yes.
Sharpman,
Here.
King,
Yes.
Calzer,
Here.
LaChose,
Here.
Lehman,
Here.
Mowerhand,
Here.
Mosier,
Here.
Osborne,
Here.
Dahlhoff.
Here. Please stand for the invocation and pledge to the flag. We gather to make decisions for our community. May we use only our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens. Please turn for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The June 4th minutes have been distributed and stand approved unless someone would like to make a correction. If not, they stand approved. Report of the Finance and Rules Committee per Rule 6. Terry?
The Finance and Rules Committee has met, and they recommend to waive the rules to act upon late resolutions this evening.
Need a motion for that? Moved by Greg, second by Brian. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We will now open a public hearing for comments on local law introductory number 1-2019, providing for installment payments of real property, town and county taxes in Lewis County. Is there anyone that would like privilege of the floor to discuss this? If no one has any comments on that, we'll leave that open. And we will move to a program PowerPoint that the county manager and we have put together for discussion on the sheriff budget issue. We will have public comments, privilege of the floor on that after we get through this presentation. If there's anyone that would like to comment on it, Cassandra has a sign-up sheet. Please sign up on that, and we will call your name in order, but you will be limited to 3 minutes. If there are people out here that are from a group, an ATV group, I would appreciate it if you would pick one spokesman rather than everyone trying to get up and make the same statement. So with that, I'll turn this over to the county manager, and we'll have a PowerPoint. Thanks.
Okay. So we know probably a lot of people are here to talk about what's going on with the Sheriff's Department budget, so we figured before we got into all that, let's run through the numbers and everyone can see where we currently stand. So we're going to go over budget trends over the last 5 years. We might talk a little about the budget process, go over 2019 year-to-date spending, and then recreation patrol. Budget trends. So one of the misconceptions that's been put out there is that the sheriff's budget was cut this year. That is simply not the case. In fact, the sheriff's budget has increased consistently every year, from $2.8 million for road patrol in 2015 to now they're at almost $3.3 million. On the jail side, they were at 1.9, almost $2 million in 2015. Today they're at $2.3 million. So in terms of commitment and financial commitment to the Sheriff's Department, the board has done well over the years to increase that commitment and has certainly not cut anything. In terms of percent increases, this is always important in New York State because we live under the 2% tax cap. So understanding how we're handling spending every year is critical to how your property taxes look when we get done with the budget. What you can see here is you've got the county total in green, you've got road patrol dispatch in light green and jail in orange. Each year, this is year over year, so from 15 to 16, the county overall budget went down 1%, road patrol has gone down 1%, and jail that year in 2016 went up 10%. So you can kind of follow those trends all the way through. Some years have been better than others. We've cut sometimes, we've added sometimes. That's how it goes with departments. But over the 5-year total of the, since 2015, the county's overall spending, every department all included, has gone up 8%. And you can see the road patrol and county jail has gone up 16% over that period. So double the rate of increase as the rest of the county departments and county spending in total. Staffing trends. We did have a professional group come in 2017 and give us analysis on the staffing at the jail. To the sheriff's credit and the undersheriff, the staffing report came back pretty accurate to what they were saying at the time. However, we have tried to react to that report and try to rectify some of the issues that were addressed at that time. One of the issues that the report looked at was overtime. The report says, while the department will never eliminate all overtime coverage, hiring additional staff would likely reduce the amount of overtime. They also said it is possible that the best solution may be a blended approach, hiring a few more full-time employees and using part-time employees to cover the remaining needs. So since that time of the report in 2017, the Board of Legislators has approved the increase of 10 total positions, 1 investigator, 4 corrections officers, 3 dispatchers, and 2 school resource officers. We also have left open, we have not eliminated any of the part-time positions, 6 road patrol, 7 corrections officers, and 3 dispatch. So we've tried to follow that report where, adding some positions to take the pressure off from the overtime, but also allowing a good mix of part-timers to fill in. As you can see, the full, 5-year trend here goes back. We had 48 total FTEs, full-time equivalents, at the Sheriff's Department in 2016. Today, in 2019, we have 58 full-time equivalents at the Sheriff's Department. So the commitment from the Board of Legislators to respond to the Bonadio report, we feel has been made. So one thing that has been talked about a little bit in the media is the 2019 budget process. I don't think we want to get too far into the weeds on this, but I just thought we would show how we handled each of the different sub-departments at the Sheriff's Office. Road Patrol, what you'll notice here is that there was a significant increase, 5% in the 2019 adopted to 2018. The reason for that is for the bargaining units. We settled a 3-year contract, and just like we settled the CSEA and the corrections officer contract, we properly accounted for those increases in the budget. We've never had a problem in all of the years of Lewis County budgeting understanding what was negotiated, reading the contract, and making sure that we appropriately put the right line item in for regular pay. Overtime pay, you'll notice, was actually increased from $30,000 to $40,000. So that was something that the sheriff requested. We saw a need last year and tried to address it the best we could by increasing it by 33% year over year. We did decrease temp pay, and the reason for that is we moved some of those resources over to Recreation Department, which we'll get to in a minute. Total increase in road patrol staffing is 5.2% year over year. Again, that's an environment with a 2% tax cap. Jail, similar process, except for here, you'll see an even bigger jump, 21.3% in regular pay. That's because we added 4 full-time corrections officers, okay? With those full-time corrections officers, we also added the necessary increases for the union contract, which was finalized last year. With the additional 4 corrections officers, we felt that overtime should be reduced, as we kind of, referencing that Bonadio report, that when you add full-time employees, the tendency for overtime goes down. But we also understood that we wanted that good mix of part-timers and full-timers So even though it was not requested, we did add $20,000 for part-timers so that we can still fill those in as needed. Recreation budget, here's where you'll really see the county's commitment, and I think if you went back even further to probably 2013 or 14, you'll see that we've increased even more over, than this 106%, but 106%, a doubling of the budget in 1 year is not something that happens often in local government. So it shows that, we've tried to show a commitment to recreation patrol. And you'll see that that some of that overtime has been, brought down here, because we do know that a lot of the rec patrol that happens in the county is overtime from the deputies. We know that. So we try to recognize that by really increasing the overtime pay for recreation patrol. Dispatch, we also added, now I have a brain cramp, 2 or 3? We had 3 dispatchers last year. So you'll see the same thing as the jail, a 31.8% increase over that time. And we did give similar situation. We reduced the overtime pay, but we also gave extra for temp, because we want those part-timers to fill in and balance the load. So we're not using too much overtime. School resource officer, obviously we added another one last year, but we now have 2 school resource officers, one at Harrisville, one at South Louis. And those officers are not completely paid for by the school districts, but the school districts do largely offset those expenses to the county. So now we talk about year-to-date spending, that, kind of the reason why we're at the point that we're at today. Regular pay is about on pace. That should be. We've added for, this is for road patrol. We accounted for the union increase. It's about on pace where it needs to be. Overtime and temp, however, have not kept pace, and are on pace to far exceed the given budgets that we've outlaid, previously. Jail, similar situation. We added the 4 new corrections officers. Those positions are more or less on pace. However, the overtime pay has continued to increase, and the temp pay, which, if you recall, the requested budget was 0, we at least gave 20, has exceeded the yearly amount. So this is what they were supposed to spend or have for the whole year. This is what we've spent already so far in June. Recreation, this is where you saw the 106% increase year over year, where we really tried to put more resources into this department. Regular pay, you can see kind of what's been used so far this year. There is still some money left that can be utilized. And dispatch, similar situation. School resource officer, there's nothing really there. That's completely on target, as expected. Year-to-date overtime, we don't really need to get into this, but some of the things that we're hearing is about transport, sick coverage, and constant watch. We need to spend more time analyzing that data. I completely agree. This is what we were able to get from our side of the time entry system, okay? This is what we were able to gather, but we need to spend more time. We need to get with the Sheriff's Department and understand what we can do to curb these trends. This was for the jail, overtime so far. And for road patrol and dispatch, similar situation, something where, management from the county and the sheriff's office need to get together and try to understand these trends and figure out what we can do to try to keep them under control. Recreation patrol, which is probably why everybody's here, a refresh of where that budget currently stands. There is some slack to be spent throughout the rest of the year. In fact, about half of it's gone. We're about halfway through the year, so we're doing okay on that front. But a couple, just to dive down a little bit deeper on this. Reimbursable costs. The state of New York will reimburse $37,500 for snowmobile patrol. So that's when you guys register your snowmobiles with the state, that money goes into a pot, gets kicked back out to localities for patrol coverage and safety. So that is a revenue that we expect in our budget. Same thing with Naval Patrol, similar situation. We actually have, the state will give up to $250,000 for Naval Patrol. I'm imagining some of the counties down, on Long Island might use that much, but up here, $10,000 is all we budgeted as a reimbursement for that. And then the ATV Patrol is a revenue line item. Again, when you register your ATVs, you pay the registration. That's not where it comes from?
No, it comes literally from the off-road permits. The Lewis County off-road permits, that's the only place it comes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The
Yeah,
permits
but
you put
it's
on your
not your
report.
registration.
No, wait, yes, when you buy, I'm sorry, wrong way. When you purchase your permit from Jackie's office, that money is transferred, some of it's used to build trails, some of it's transferred over to the sheriff's department to provide patrols out on the trail system. We also have, so these are revenues that we are expecting to receive. So if we don't do the work to get those reimbursements, we won't see those revenues come back in the budget. School resource officer, like I said before, we have two. Those salaries are paid for by the schools, not completely, but partially paid for by the schools. So, using those folks for rec patrol, which was pretty well established through the minutes when the board, looked to approve those two positions, was that during the winter break and during the summer months, those two positions would be used for recreation patrol. That's kind of what the deal was if you go back and look at the minutes during that time. So having those folks on staff now, there would be no additional budgetary cost to having them doing rec patrol, because most of their costs are paid for by the schools. And that's it. So, any questions, comments?
Now, these two full-time deputies have to go out both those Parks and Rec individuals, so there is overtime insurance for that.
What's that, Sheriff? I'm sorry.
Full-time deputies have to go out Parks and Rec, so there is overtime insurance for that.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, Ryan, I have a question before we open it up to the public. On the road patrol, there was 11.3% overtime for the road patrol for recreation. Okay, and then the next slide, it showed what we've been spending at recreation. Has that overtime that was spent on the road patrol side towards rec, is that reflected in the cost of the rec? The way I see it, that it's going to be counted against the road patrol and it's not showing up on the rec part.
Nope.
Okay. Just to clear it up if someone might have seen it the way I do.
What we probably should have said is sheriff deputies, not corrections officers. So the deputies were being used during those instances at rec patrol and were charged to those levels.
Okay. Because you had it was underneath the sheriff, the road patrol, separate from the rec. That's why I was
Okay, so now we'll open it up for general privilege of the floor. Is there anyone here that would like to discuss an issue other than the rec patrol and sheriff's department issue? Do you have anything else? If not, we'll move on to a list of people that would like to speak with regard to that. So first on the list is Mike Levicker. Would you come up front, please, and state your name for the record?
My name is Mike Liverker, and I'd like to thank everybody. It was a good PowerPoint presentation, right, Brian? That was good. Been deputy for your county for 42 years, and I'd like to mention a few facts about the recreation program, which I've been involved with since we started in, I think it was 1992, 91, I'm not 100% sure. The boat patrol actually started way back in the 1960s, and the sled patrol started in 91, 92. And the ATV patrol started in the late 1990s on a very small scale. And back at that time, I can tell you, so I was really involved in it, the budget program was for boats and snowmobiles, but were never, ATVs were never included in that budget program back going 10, 15 years. Over the course of time, we obtained 2 free boats. We got a $75,000 2015 Boston Whaler. That's on a loaner program from the Albany Marine Office. We can use that forever till the end of it, or we can give it back anytime. Okay, that's a program that they have out for different counties. We got a $25,000 2009 Triumph Bayliner. It's a 4-stroke engine, runs really good. That's up at Rainham, and that was obtained through Ray Meyer as a member item back in 2009, 2008 it kind of started. So that's $100,000 right there you got. At that point in time, our boats were, it was an embarrassment to be out there, totally an embarrassment. So, personally, myself and Mike Tabout, we worked on this, and we got these $100,000 free boats for you. Free docking space. Here's another added thing that's not even in your budget. For the last 8 years, you were, we'll figure $400 to dock a boat at a dock. That's about average price. So for 8 years, 2 lakes, totals about $6,400. A free dock space, a boathouse to use, and a storage shed. So that's stuff you guys don't even have to budget in. So that equals to about $106,000 and $400 cash that you don't have to budget. The county promotes tourism to our backyard. It's your adventure, so we need to settle this issue that's going on. We actually need to be doing more than what we're doing. Patrolling lakes is a 7-day operation, not just a few days a week, depends on the weather. This morning it rained out, yeah, nobody's going to be out. Now it's hot and muggy out, people are going to be out. All the camps are rented out for next 2 months at Bradenham and Bonaparte. People are here. Our equipment budget, I may be wrong in this, but right down to like $100. We have no money to service our snowmobiles, our ATVs, or our boats. I could be wrong in that, but I don't think I am. Our helmets all need to be replaced before winter comes. We teach helmet safety to the kids in schools, so we should follow the same practice that we teach. At some time, maybe these areas that require patrols will have to start helping out the county for policing. County Fair, Snort Run, Cream Cheese, maybe both lakes, Diana, Greg, the lake associations are gonna maybe have to start putting into some of this. That's what I truly believe. If you want to really understand, I think you guys do a little bit, the reimbursement for snowmobile and marine, contact the sheriff. I did it for 30 years, all the paperwork. I know the whole process. We sit down and figure out, I think you're on the right track, but we just got to maybe explain a little bit more to you. JCC needed $2 million more. When I went over budget, that wasn't a problem, okay? But we need to get this issue settled. We need to get back on track because people are here and there's no protection out there on the trails, the waters. So it's, we're putting people's lives at risk, and we just need to somehow get this going and settle it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Marilyn Patterson.
Good evening. Nice presentation, Ryan. Thank you very much for that. I wasn't aware of so much how your budget is working or not working. I'm a supervisor for the town of Gregg. I've been there. This is my 8th year. And I've had to write a budget every year, staying under the 2%, so I know exactly what you guys are going through. And ladies, I know. Between your salaries with the unions, your health insurance, equipment, gasoline, that takes up the majority of our budgets before we do anything else. Very hard to project. And then you've got the state, Mr. Como cutting chips and everything else. I think everybody's aware of what we're being cut, the AIM program. But we've been encouraged, our towns have been encouraged to open ATV trails, snowmobile trails. Town of Gregg has a lake, well, 2 lakes that Chase's Lake too. We've got horses, kayaking, canoes, jet skis. We just opened a dirt track. And now we're looking at maybe no patrol. I mean, this is serious. And I don't know what your fix is. I just know that in my little town where I am, I've had to work with people and write grants. There's money out there to be had, but we need somebody that's willing to write grants. I've written grants through North Pratt for my swim program at South Louis for the last 10 years. I wrote a grant for the playground, the town park, got $10,000 to build that park. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. If you know where the money is, I had to teach myself. I wasn't educated through the college or anything. In another place is Lewis County Youth Program. I've worked with Penny every year for the last 10 years, getting money for our program. It's not easy. I grew up in Bradenham, like from the age of 2 until I got married. Mom and Dad had a camp there. We always had patrol on that lake. And I'll tell you what, if anybody wonders what we need patrol, go up on 4th of July and check out that lake. Because it is going to be crazy. And we didn't have jet skis back when I was a kid. We had rowboats, little motor on the back, a couple of cruisers, but that's about it. And now it is just crazy. And then you add the alcohol, and the other problem with this county is drugs. And the town of Craig is one of the biggest ones for meth right now, and I think my sheriff here can attest to that, because a program I went to training for health and safety and drugs, the first one on the chart was town of Craig. You can't pick up a can alongside the road because there's meth in it. And I don't know how many times my road superintendent has pointed it out. I'm just concerned for the safety of our citizens, and I know you guys are too. It's not that you don't care. It's how we're gonna solve the problem. And I think the biggest thing right now that may help more than anything is grant writing. And it may take care of the guy up on Bradenham Lake. You know, you get a senior in college that's criminal justice, and he needs something to do for the summer. What a perfect program that would be. You know, talk to these people on the lake association, and see they did that with the boat wash up in Bradenham. So, I mean, it's a lot of labor. It really is. But, and I know you guys will do it, and ladies, and I wish you all luck, but I just felt as though I needed to come and talk to you and share with you what I see from our little town. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Diane Miller.
Good afternoon. Due to the overwhelming expenditures, we are slated with finding the whole recreation program being taxed. The division we are all aware of provides services on our waterways and trail systems, but it's year-round. Without this service, it has already been noted on social media and the surrounding areas that you don't bring attention to yourself, you'll be okay. Basically, giving full stream to doing whatever you please, without the thought of police presence enforcing the law. It does not dissuade illegal actions. When there's no presence, who is there to enforce watercraft, snowmobile, and ATV compliance? There was somebody asking to rent a jet ski that was coming up to Birmingham. Had no clue that you had to have a boater safety course in order to properly operate that on a body of water in this area, actually in New York State. I see many posts of people wanting to come here to the area for recreational purposes. But if it's unsafe, are those families still going to come to this county and spend their dollars? Or are they gonna go elsewhere? We never wanna put our families in harm's way, and the removal of these patrols, we're just doing that. Please let us find the necessary monies to cover this unexpected cost of keeping us safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Hyman.
Thank you very much for letting me speak to you folks. I'm a representative, not a representative, I'm a landowner at Branningham. I'm also a landowner in Martinsburg up on Centerville Road. So I see both the need for water safety and ATV safety or snow sleds. Today, for example, after the brief rain we had at least 4, if not 5 jet skis out there playing tag, raising hell, excuse me, but
Yep.
they were very close to each other. One was dragging a tube, not very safe. We also had several pontoon boats out. We had water skiers out. We need some eyes looking at what these folks are doing to make sure. First example, we've got several pontoon boats. I haven't seen them yet this year, but I've seen some small, about 14-foot pontoon boats with 15 people on it. And I'm talking about just barely above water level. People just don't think. They don't have a life preserver for each person. This has to be, sometimes there has to be Big Brother looking in. I've been on Branningham since 1946. Been a landowner since 74. And we need police supervision. On the ATV side, we need it up at Branningham, I'll tell you. We have kids, mainly kids flying around, riding doubles when they're not equipped for doubles. On Centerville Road, where I've got property, it's a high-speed lane there. I've not seen any accidents. However, I do know in the snow sled season, one lad was killed right at the gate to one of my wind turbines, and he went off the road and into a tree. So there has to be, you can't stop everything. Accidents will happen. But by having supervision around, the thought in the, let's call it the participant's mind, they will act a little bit more with reason. And that's where I think we really need it at Branningham. We have, during the summer months, I mean, they're out on the water 7:30 in the morning and sometimes 10 o'clock at night. So we really need the police supervision there. I understand you can't be there all the time, but we're also a very, I believe, significant portion of your tax funding. We pay pretty good dollars. I pay more for my property at Branningham than I do for my house outside of Chicago. Thank you, folks. I hope you can give us some help.
Thank you. Mary Brown.
Thank you for all your hard work, and thank you, Sheriff, for all your hard work. I'm on Branningham as well. I'm a owner of property. I was actually born in Mountville, so I've been here a long time. I have always respected the sheriff and anybody who's patrolled our land. What I've seen in Branningham over the last 5 years, though, is a little shocking. We have fewer and fewer visits because the troops are just spread too thin. We have more renters, and that's just the facts of life. People can't go spend all summer there like they used to, so they need to get the revenue to help pay their taxes. We have people coming in with very large boats. It didn't used to be a large boat lake. I don't know if you noticed the large boats.
Yes.
There was an ocean liner out there last year. The jet skis, I got almost sideswiped by a jet ski today with careless behavior. If somebody doesn't just show their face as authority, a couple hours a day takes the temperature down drastically. I see it every summer. When I see that no one's there, people say, hey, nobody's been here all week. Let's stay out on the lake until 11 o'clock at night drinking in party barges with no lights on. That's not good. Somebody's gonna get hurt. I see floating platforms out in the middle of the lake at 10 o'clock in the morning because somebody's pontoon boat has taken out their floating swim raft. That's gonna happen and somebody's gonna get hurt the next time. They didn't, this time that hasn't happened. So I encourage some solution. I know some places have auxiliary patrols that they can use the boat, the sheriff's boat, and go out and just be a presence. I don't know if that's a feasible solution here, but I'm encouraged to ask for more presence, not take away presence. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank everyone for their comments. I have a couple thoughts I'd like to share. I think the general consensus here is that we all would like to see more rec patrol. I think the legislators agree with that. We budgeted the full request for rec patrol. We actually even increased it $10,000 over last year. There is money in that account that has not been expended yet. So I think, the argument here is we're attempting to use that money that's remaining in that account to cover other shortfalls. So hopefully we can have further discussions on it and come to an agreement that makes everybody happier, if not completely happy. So thank you.
And I do agree with what Larry just said. I mean, it's kind of a balancing act. Our intentions are covering everything, but not maybe covering it perfect. And maybe, like one of the people said there, is showing up randomly for 2 hours just for presence. I mean, and I know the sheriff's wanting to do it perfectly, and I understand that. But when we put our budget together, and somebody else pointed out, roughly 90% of what we raise in taxes from everybody is mandated items. At least it's about 10% to take care of the rest of the stuff. And if we are trying to stay in the tax cap, and I don't think anybody wants more and more tax increases. So it's kind of a balancing act, and hopefully the sheriff can figure out some way. He might be able to balance it, and a lot of things may not be perfect, but it kind of works for everybody. So our intentions is we've always put recreation in, and we'd like it to continue. It may not be perfect. So we'll do what we can. Thank you.
We'll move on. At this point, is there anyone here that would like to comment on providing for installment payment on real property taxes, county taxes in Lewis County? If not, we will close that public hearing at this point.
So as of right now, you're saying that we'll have to come back to the drawing board another time then to get this resolved, our funding? In other words, will we have to wait till next month's meeting to try to get something done, or can we get together and figure out where we can get some funding to continue on?
We have always been willing, to have discussion on that anytime that, you would like to have.
Well, I've been open anytime, 24/7. I'm at my office, my cell phone, my residence. I come up and had meetings with you. I'm in meetings now again here today, last month. Here we are. I mean, these people are waiting for an answer. They're waiting for me to put recreation patrol out there. If I don't have the funding to do it, I cannot do it. So I'm saying, when can we? No, sir, I do not.
So, Sheriff, with all due respect here, by you not doing any rec patrol, all that money that's available for you to get for revenue isn't coming in. So I don't understand where you don't have the funding to do it. Up front, you might not, but you're going to get reimbursed for that. Even if it comes in next year, it still makes you whole. So with that part, The $100,000 that you're projected to be over, and I'm just gonna give you a quick look at what we have available for monies, okay? And we don't know what our sales tax revenue is gonna be. Right now, contingency, we have $96,000, or 189 in contingency. Special legislative contingency, we only have 96. Your $100,000 that you're projected to be over is gonna take half of that, and that's providing we don't have any more issues. So we did not ask you to get rid of the rec patrol. We gave you 2 resource officers. We agreed on that because the understanding was when they were off on vacations in summers that they were gonna do rec patrol, which when they do it is reimbursable. You got $10,000 in one pot, and what were the other 20,000 in the other 2 pots to take from. So that's all revenue you're not gonna get. That's gonna make your budget gap even larger if you don't do them patrols and get that money.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
So let me ask you, what is
This also, you can't put one man in a boat. If anybody knows anything about New York State boating law and patrols, you'll find the liability behind that. I've sent 4 people from my agency in the last couple of years. Finally, we had the funding, we had the training available, we had the manpower. We sent them out to training, so be professionally trained, be certified, so that you, as a county, wouldn't get sued to the people I was putting out there before that weren't trained in it. They require 2 people. No one man can patrol and take a boat, pull alongside another boat, hang on to that boat, ask for identification, put anybody even in custody if need be for the DWI. Can't do it. Cannot do it safely at all.
You've got 2 RSOs that are paid for.
They're
Send
SROs, Jerry. They are
those out.
not paid for, sir. For the full time, they're paid for the school.
They were paid for the school, and the reason we agreed to hire them is they were gonna be recreation when they were ours.
When they're available to do it, that's right.
Well, they're available
We don't have
in
the
the
money
summer.
available to pay for them right now. We don't have that. I can't put 2 other people with
The
them.
school's already paid for it.
See,
I'm not giving you a hard time.
you're not
I'm
gonna
just
have- it's
looking
not-
for a solution.
I understand, but
The thing is, if you use those now, you can go to both lakes and you can still do some of the recreation program. May not be perfect, but everybody gets a little bit of something instead of saying you're not doing it just to punish us. What you're doing is punishing those people
absolutely
out
not,
there
sir.
by
Absolutely
pulling.
not to punish anybody.
Well,
What I'm doing, sir, is being responsible, as I was asked by my legislative board and my county manager, to find the money to cover the overtime in the jail, which is mandated, sir. You are correct. I don't have to control that. That comes out of Albany again.
Now,
So that's what I'm doing. So I found so I can have the extra money there if we needed to cover that overtime. I asked for $179,000 last year's budget. It's simple. I mean, there's nothing more to really discuss and, make all this rhetoric and all these slideshows and presentations. You took $179 away from my budget. If I had that, we'd be fine today. But I don't.
Okay, so with that being said though, Sheriff, in all due respect, I understand that you're trying to put money in your budget to do things as good as you can do it to the best of your ability, because that's what the public, we all deserve that. I understand that. But if every department comes in here throughout the county, whether it's DSS, whether it's probation or anything, and say, well, this is what we want and you have to give it to us, oh my God, we'd be at a 10% increase. We can't afford that. Our taxpayers can't afford that now. So what we do with you, the same as everyone else, is we ask you to do the best with what we give you, okay? And I believe that you did that. I understand the jail part. I work there, you know that. I understand where the extra costs are coming from. Giving you the 4 full-time employees didn't work out. By giving the drug force, I brought it up when Leanne brought it up. The additional cost.
Nobody gave me the drug task force. Remember? I came in here and told you people I started. I did. Without me funding, I took people away from other positions. Because there was a crisis in our county. And it was terrible to keep on watching the district attorney come in here and basically pour her heart out to everybody and not get funded for that. I had the people to do it at the time if I took away from somewhere else. So there again is to show that I've taken from other places to do a job that needs to be funded. How much longer am I going to keep on taking away from my department and other areas to cover everything? Can't be done, gentlemen. I've been asking for this for 8 years. It's catch-up time. We're there now.
So
Next year is going to be probably even worse if we don't do something now.
Well, see, I'm going to disagree with you that because with the no bail, you're not going to have the people in jail. You're not going to have the overtime with the no bail.
That's what you think. Don't be fooled by Albany. Well, no, you know what? You've all been fooled by Albany. What can I say?
And I will promise you, like I said before, we'll work with you. But it's also nice to be able, instead of reading in the paper why you're over on certain things and a little heads up before. It's not that we won't, but you really never gives justification for being over and overtime. It's like none of
I
our
certainly
business.
have, sir. I've
You've
presented the
never
budget
come
every
in.
year. I report to you guys. Every year we've
You've
done.
never
I've come
come
and
in
talked for the
and
last
voted on
8
that.
years, Jerry. I come up here in meetings that we have, our committee meetings. What do I get told? Try to work within your budget. We'll talk about this later. Maybe we'll find it next time. I talked to the county manager at length, and the county manager before that, and the county manager before that, legislators before that. The people in this county are basically getting tired of hearing where their tax dollars are going and not going. Hold on for a minute. And it's us guys, the department heads that are left up here, to be kicked around. Or turn around like this and wonder, what are we doing? How can I answer these people? This is what I'm answering. I'm trying to do the best that I can. My people have done above and beyond what they can for the amount of money that's given to our agency to make it run with. We've been responsible with it too. You're not going to drive 100 miles on 5 gallons of gas. That's what you're asking from everybody. Not my office, every office in this county, except, and I'm going to go there, and I'm sorry, I was asked not to, the hospital gets what it needs, carte blanche.
Yes.
Carte blanche.
Yes.
We suffer because of that.
Okay.
Every
so
other
let me-
department
I'm
suffers
gonna
because
interrupt
of
you
that.
there, Sheriff.
Go ahead.
So let's take a look at the big picture with the hospital, all right? Yes, we do set money aside just in case. They've been in the black for how many years now? I do believe 3 years. We were in the red when we first come, okay? So take that hospital away, close it, and see what you got left in the county. Take all them good jobs away from here and everything. The tax money that doesn't come in, the real estate that goes, because then people, 300 and some people don't have a job. Look at the amount of money that doesn't come in here.
Right,
And you think your budget is tight now, Sheriff? It's gonna get tighter.
The hospital will close. We know it. You all know it.
You don't know that.
Yes, we do. If it's
You
private-
know that.
Yes, we do.
You don't have a globe, no more
Okay.
than I do.
All right. Yeah, I do. But I can tell you this. You can say it about the hospital, but if you don't have public safety in your community, that's going to go. Let's really look what it's about. Public safety
So
is
what
very...
you're saying to us is give you everything you want and then
No.
hell with everyone else.
Did I say that? No, I did not. I'm asking to work within
Yes,
the budget that I
yes, you are.
gave.
When you pulled recreation from these people, what it was is you brought them in there to cram it down our throat.
Hold on
And
for
the
1 second,
bottom
Jerry.
line is, you can
Jerry,
provide it if
hold on
you
for 1
want.
second. Hold on for 1 second.
You're in
Excuse me,
charge
sir.
of that for
Excuse me.
jail.
Anybody here tonight? Did I contact any of you to come here tonight? Me personally?
No, one of your other people over
No.
there. And when
Okay.
you pulled recreation.
Point being is you can't say
Bottom
that.
line, you can provide a certain amount of recreation with your budget just the way it is, if you choose to. And we'll work with you. I'll tell you that. I've told you before.
Well, then you know what then? If we
But-
don't need, if we supposed to work with me, we already have had these discussions. The bottom line is, are we gonna fund the agency tonight? Might have to come back again in the middle of next month and wait till August to get funded? What are we gonna do?
Let's hold it right there. There's two things that we have established. One, there's money in the rec budget now that you could use on recreation. Is that
No,
correct?
it's not. No, sir. No.
Just,
you
there
said
was just a slide up there that there's over $28,000
Where'd it go?
in the rec fund.
Where'd it
You
go?
are attempting to use that money to balance overages elsewhere.
That's what I was asked to do.
Is that correct?
I was asked to do that. Correct, Mr. Manager?
Not exactly by pulling recreation patrol.
Where'd you like me to get it from then?
Oh,
Where
no,
will I
I
get it
do
from?
believe the term was frivolous spending, so like with your rifles and equipment that you might not necessarily need.
The direction from my office.
Frivolous spending?
Hold on. The direction from my office was very clear. It was only discretionary items that we would want to hold, not deny the purchase of, hold until the fourth quarter when we could see how the rest of the budget was going to shake out. That was the directive. And that's it. That's all the communication from my office directly has been.
I used the wrong word, Sheriff, I'm sorry for that. I didn't mean frivolous.
I didn't mean to write no word.
So sorry about that.
And I think you're doing an excellent job. You're doing everything. It's just somehow we gotta make everything with the amount of money there is. It's not, you know. And I see where you're coming from, the hospital, and I've told you before, they've turned around. We're hoping that. But if it gets to the point they were into us before, they will not survive at where we gotta increase taxes 10 and 15% to keep them afloat.
Look,
That's the bottom line.
Listen, I'm not trying to pick apart the good people who work there and everything else.
This is it. I've been here 16 years. I was part of the Parks and Recs Patrol. I remember getting a phone call from my boss then, at the time, says, Cart, Parks and Recs is out. Why is that? Why is that, Sheriff? They didn't have the funding. They told me I had to find it someplace else. You know, why? 16 years. Want me to start funding what we need to do the right way? Not just okay, like you see in the commercials, hey, you want to take your brakes to a muffler specialist? I mean, what's what you want to do? You know, I can turn around and put any kid out in the lake with a boat? No, I certainly cannot do that. Can't do it. You can't put a regular civilian person. It is law enforcement.
I agree with that, but we've always put money in there, whether you could get two or that, and, you know, you didn't do it. We never worked enough hours, even when we had money in there, to collect on what we could collect on, because we never worked enough hours. And it wasn't because of that, so now we're just starting back in where we put enough time in and we collect for the state hours for boat patrol and this.
Sure, that's not true. I'm sorry.
Well,
you know,
you look at the revenues, it
manpower
shows we didn't get it.
This man right here has worked his heart out for this county. Okay?
Okay.
He no,
We're not gonna solve this
Larry,
tonight.
I realize
We
that.
need to move on.
I'm sorry, we'll do it.
We are willing to work with you anytime that you want. I know that the county manager has reached out to you. He will continue to reach out to you whenever you're ready to come to the table.
Larry, I've
we're
been
ready.
coming to the table. Don't cut me off, please, sir, because you do know that.
Okay, you got 2 minutes.
I have been.
Then we're done.
I have been to the table. I have been on the phone. I'm available anytime. I'm at that office. Okay? There's nothing more that I can do. There's nothing more. Okay? I have done everything you've asked of me. Everything.
There is a lot more you could do. You could compromise. So you got a minute and 30 seconds left.
Okay, well, you know what? Compromise constantly.
I do have a question. Now, I was the chair of your committee when we got the SRO positions. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And during that conversation in that committee, the SROs were going to be funded for a full-time position, and part of that position was going to be used for the Parks and Rec.
Yes, sir.
So if we have those, what are they doing now if they're not doing Parks and Rec?
They'll be going to road patrol. To fill in the gaps in my road patrol too as well.
Now, sure, I know we funded quite a few positions for road patrol.
No, see, that's the public's misled. No, we didn't. No, we're still at 13 deputies. That's it. You put 5 new people.
When we brought you up, you asked me specifically to bring you up to what the previous sheriff had.
13 of us.
And that's what you requested, and we did it.
But just so you know, no, I requested at that point, then that year, yes, that's what he told me, that's what I was told I could do. I asked, I want the community to know this, I asked for a 2-2-2 program last year. I asked them to put on 2 deputies one year, 2 deputies another year, and 2 deputies another year, over a 3-year period. That way it wouldn't cost the county a lot of money like it did a few years back, about 3 years ago, when I put 5 deputies on at a large expense. And that was to catch up to retirees and people who were promoted. I still have positions that are not covered because people were promoted to other things that I'm not being allowed to fill because of the budget. There's no more, the public knows, you know, I know, I'm open. We need some money. I need some help. When this large building on top of the hill calls for help up there, they get it every time. Thank goodness they do. I'm glad they do. I'm glad you find it.
Sure.
And now your sheriff's agency's bleeding and they need help.
I can't sit here and listen to that hospital.
Sure you can.
The hospital is a fund that makes their money. We don't give the hospital any money anymore, sure. They charge for their services and they make money. The hospital has a lot of money in the bank. We are doing just a mechanical law thing by approving the spots for the hospital. We don't put that budget and pay that money out of taxpayers.
Well,
the hospital makes their own money.
Dick, I'll say this, fine. My Parks and Rec can make their own money then too, right?
It can, and that's my confusion. Why isn't the Parks and Rec, you can take in $200,000 we're told, and you agreed to that you could. So did Mike. Why don't you have a plan to put those people in the Parks and Recs and take care of these lakes? Everybody up here wants the lakes taken care of.
We had that plan.
And it'll be reimbursed.
We had the plan, it was going well, until I was told I was spending the overtime money and they had no place to cover it coming up. So he told me to go find some place to cover it. This is the only place I can take from, Dick.
If you spend the money on the Parks and Recs now, it will come back to you 100% in your budget before year end.
No, stop. I'm gonna stop.
It will come back.
I've spoken to you for 8 years, I've given you information for 8 years, you don't listen to it. You've had paperwork, you've had emails, you've had handouts, like the county manager asked me now, this one. Put things on paper, we do it. Come on. Thank you for my
Thank
time.
you, Sheriff.
So, Sheriff, I have one question, and you know that I understand the corrections end, but we're gonna go back when we approved you to backfill 5 positions. There was 1 investigator, and I do believe there was 4 road patrol that you hadn't filled for close to a year. So my question to you is, and this is where my question is, why is there so much overtime now on the road side compared to what it was when you were down 5 staff? Explain that to me.
You're at the same level, you never went up, it's the same level.
I know, but you were short. You had 4 to 5 open positions that people weren't in at one time, and your overtime wasn't at what it is now. That's my question for you, to help me understand where you're coming from. Like I said, I understand the corrections because I work there. There's a lot of uncontrolled, unforeseen stuff that you don't have any control over. I understand that. But the roadside, how is it that our overtime is so high when you're back up to the level that Sheriff Taball had when I worked there at 13, when you were down 2 or 3 years ago, you were down an investigator and 4 road patrols that you hadn't filled. And they were funded, they were in your budget, and you did not fill them right off.
No, we did, because now we're doing what we call proper hiring practices.
I understand that,
I
but-
now give a lie detector and a polygraph exam and a psychological background. We hire new people. Never been done before in the sheriff's
And
department.
that's fine, I think you should give them a drug test too, but
Right.
don't do that, help me understand that part. I mean, that's the part that I don't understand. You know,
Certainly.
if I'm running a business and I'm short 3 people with no overtime, and then I hire 3 people to fill the position, I got a whole bunch of overtime.
Right.
It's like, I wanna take a look at that, and it's helped me understand that.
I will. I can bring you more to you. Like I said, right in the middle of doing several narcotics things that we have going on, narcotics costs. To do my narcotics unit costs money. I told you, I took from the roads where I had to take it from to make a narcotics unit. And we're putting a pretty good dent so far. We're doing a pretty good job for those guys off what they have.
No one's ever argued with you.
I know
They
that.
are doing a good job
I'm just saying
with what you
that's where the money's going. I'm saying that's where we're trying to do some of these things. That's all. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Presentation and communications and notices, Terry, please.
A letter of thanks was received from Youth Bureau Director Penny Mosier for the approved county appropriation to support the upcoming Lewis County Night Out. The U.S. Board on Geographic Names has officially named the waterfall on Black Creek in the town of New Bremen as Dickup Falls, in association with the nearby unincorporated community of Dickup's Corner, the historical Dickup School, and for the Dickup family who have lived in the area since 1861. In response to the sheriff's recent announcement to terminate enforcement patrols, Branningham Community Association officers Philip Stark and Karen Murphy urged that as the sheriff and legislators work to solve the budget issues, they avoid taking a clear shot at our tourism industry. The board acknowledges receipt of resolutions enacted by the Columbia and Livingston County legislatures opposing New York State legislation that undermines the careful balance that exists for the tax foreclosure process by changing the order in which multiple tax liens are to be redeemed. Also from the Essex County legislature opposing enactment of the Farm Workers Fair Labor Practices Act that expands their benefits and rights.